mar, al mar, al mar, espejo de mi corazón. Las veces que me has visto llorar, la perfidia de tu amor. Te he buscado donde quiera que yo voy y no te puedo hallar. ¿Para qué quiero otros besos si tus labios no me quieren ya besar? Y tú, y tú, y tú, quién sabe por dónde andarás, quién sabe qué aventura tendrás, qué lejos estás de mí. Shararara, la, 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 shararara, la, 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 shararara, la, 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 la. Everybody now. Shararara, la, la, shararara, la, la, shararara, mujer.
Saturday, August 7th, 2010. Beloved wife of the late Carmelo Camacho Cruz, loving mother of Roberto Camacho, Jorge Camacho, Maria Buff, and Carmen Brinkley. Also survived by grandchildren Sophia, Michelle, Alex, Garrett, Gabriella, Amy, Melissa, Julia, Elena, William, Lilia, and Lucia, and a host of nieces, nephews, and many friends. Two immigrants met in Washington, D.C. Carmelo Camacho was from a small village in Puerto Rico. The woman was from a town near Mexico City, and her name was Aurora Anaya. Theirs isn't just a story about love. They are proof that the American dream can become a reality.
We are thankful for the family being able to be together on Thanksgiving. It's been a year since Grandma passed away. She wouldn't have wanted it any other way.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've ever heard the story of how Mom and Dad met. Dad was here.
It depends on who's telling the
Well, yeah. Dad was here in the Army, stationed at what, Fort Myers? I think it was
Fort
Myers.
McNair.
Fort McNair in
We
Virginia.
gotta push it so it gets
So these
And-
little,
Yeah,
the
the
turkey
leaf
ones.
stuff.
You gotta
look on the press. Yeah, there you go.
So anyway, Grandma was here as a nanny,
Yeah,
and
the acorn
push it
design
down.
on
They
it.
push it
Grandpa
down.
is working with the Army. So Grandpa was out on the weekend with his friends. They were driving around, and Grandma was with her friends trying to figure out what they're gonna do. And they decided to go. Well, they were on a corner, of course, just trying to decide what to do. When Grandpa and her friends,
Street corner?
yes, and this is what's funny, because you know how Grandma has always been, you know.
Are you kidding? They would have killed us.
Exactly.
If we
So Grandpa said, "Oh, look, those ladies look Latina." So the guy stopped and said, introduced themselves, and what are you guys doing? And do you want to go with us? And they got in the car with them. Can you imagine? They didn't even know him. And Grandma said that Grandpa kept looking at her through the rear view mirror.
And she noticed
She
his,
told me,
his
His beautiful eyes.
Yeah.
She told me his eyes are so beautiful. Like when she told me the story, she's like, his eyes are so beautiful and now they're so ugly.
Yeah. Cut that. You know? So anyway, after that, it was like, I guess love at first sight. Now, Grandpa says that they stopped at a stoplight, and Grandma jumped through the window
into the car.
into the car.
It's a little exaggerated.
The first thing I remember is meeting them for the first time at their house. I had just come over with my future husband from England to Maryland, where he lived. And we went into his house, his family's house, and the thing I remember most is a lot of noise, because my family is a very quiet, reserved kind of family. my husband's family is very noisy, and there's always a lot of talking and laughter and 3 TVs going on at the same time and phones ringing and people coming over and parties and just a lot of noise. That's what I remember most. But I remember my future mom and dad being very welcoming, very personable. I mean, they acted like they had known me forever, like I was their daughter. I always felt like a part of the family from day one. Always felt like a part of the family.
I remember their house was like always really welcoming. Like whenever we first came over, Grandpa would always be like, "My daughters," and even when we were leaving, like every single time we leave their house, they would stand at the glass door and like wave goodbye until like we were out of sight. Even like when Abuelita was dying, she would like still like get up and go to the door and like wave at us.
She always loved babies, loved little children, and they loved her. They loved being around her. They would always come running up to her and give her big hugs, and she loved that. She loved her grandchildren.
They were always very thoughtful and very giving.
Carmelo, he was a good family man, very hardworking. He didn't have a formal education, but he made enough money along with his wife that the kids always had food on the table, although sometimes it wasn't very much. He had at least 2 jobs at once. So times were tough, but they were real hard workers, and they wanted their kids to have the best.
My grandma was diagnosed with cancer in 2009. There was a mass in her lungs and a tumor the size of a baseball growing in her brain. Doctors said that she had 4 months to live, but Grandma told them that she would be around for another year. 1 year and a day later, she was gone. It was early in the morning, around 3 a.m. I was the one who received the call from my aunt that my grandma had passed away. The hardest thing I have ever had to do in my entire life was tell my father that his mom was gone. In Grandma's last days, she wrote one last birthday card for each of her grandkids. Though she was too weak to write the messages, she signed each card herself. The same shaky signature that I've known for 20 years. It's been a little more than 1 year since Grandma died. Grandpa had left us 3 years earlier, and both were inurned at Arlington National Cemetery for Grandpa's service in Korea. Even through all of the sadness, they still keep us smiling. Everything my grandparents did was for me. They left everything they knew and loved to give me what I have today. My father was in the American Air Force, traveled the world, and became an engineer for Lockheed Martin. His son earned a degree in physics from MIT, and his daughter is studying film at Penn State. Likewise, the children of my aunts and uncle, my 8 cousins, all have their own successes. But before that came a dream shared by 2 immigrants who loved each other very much.